I've watched the first 2 episodes of Daredevil Born Again, and I'm very worried in the direction that this show is going. Episode 1 starts out with Matt, Foggy, and Karen hanging out at a bar, as well as establishing some characters. Then Foggy gets a call from one of his clients that he's stashed up in his apartment to protect him, even though he could literally tell Matt about his client being in danger. He's literally a superhero? I don't get why he's keeping this a secret from Matt and Karen. What? And then Foggy's client was calling him because it sounded like someone was breaking in, which it turns out that Bullseye was the one breaking in and ends up killing Foggy's client. And then Matt suits up as Daredevil to look into what's going on. Then, not too long after that, Bullseye shoots Foggy and a few other civilians, and instead of killing Karen while he has the chance to do so, he throws a few smoke grenades down, then proceeds to walk over to her and point the gun at her face, which is just so unnecessary. He's able to hit Foggy and others at that same distance, and it's not like he really had to reload. He at most went through 5 rounds in a 10-round mag. It's just because Karen has a bunch of plot armor in the scene. Also, why is Bullseye after Karen and Foggy? Wouldn't his real goal be to kill Fisk? Because Bullseye decided to do a bunch of unnecessary theatrics, it gave Matt enough time to swoop in and save Karen, which leads into this bar fight. The camera work is neat, but the fight itself looks so fake, rubbery, and cartoonish compared to the combat in the first 3 seasons. The fights in those original seasons were grounded and gritty, while this completely lacks any of that because of how rubbery Matt and Bullseye look. It looks like a video game. They have a CG coat of paint on them. Later on it gets a little better, but it just looks so artificial. Overall, it just looks like a complete downgrade from the incredible action that we had from the original show. And then Foggy dies, which I'm not really sad, I'm just mostly pissed off because I've waited 6 years for the show to return just for him to get offed immediately. I get that it's supposed to be shocking and sudden, but it just didn't land. The entire first season of Born Again should have just dedicated itself to building up to Foggy's death, which would have had some weight and impact, but instead, they go down a cheap and lazy route. It just continues to undermine season 3. And because Foggy died, Matt kicks Bullseye off the roof to try to kill him, but Bullseye survives somehow. And then the show decides to have a huge time jump and skips over tons of important drama, like Matt retiring from being Daredevil and his falling out with Karen, and dealing with the grief of Foggy's death and seeing his funeral. All of this could have been its own season, but they decided to completely throw all this potential away for whatever reason. Bullseye gets sentenced to life in prison, Karen and Foggy are then replaced with some random ass characters that weren't even in the original show and are nowhere near as good as Foggy and Karen. Again, this show hardly feels like a continuation of the original. And Kingpin is back trying to run for mayor. In his absence, after being shot in the face in Echo, his wife was running his criminal empire? Huh? In the original Daredevil show, she never participated in any of Fisk's criminal activities and hardly knew anything about the game. All she did was just support him in his criminal empire. Now she's just running his operation perfectly and doesn't love Kingpin anymore. And in episode 2, they start going to marriage counseling. All this shit just makes Fisk look really weak. Back to him trying to become mayor, I don't really see how in any world this would end well for him, considering he's been to prison multiple times and he's been exposed as a crime lord. Like, how the fuck is anyone voting for this guy? I just don't buy that he could get into any position of power in the government. And this is all done in episode 1 of the show, completely undermining season 3. And don't give me that shit about, Donald Trump, just shut the fuck up, just shut the fuck up. Completely different situations, completely different crimes. Trump hasn't been to jail, unlike Kingpin who's been to jail multiple times beforehand. Can we just stop with these lazy Trump allegories that we've seen 100 times? It's played out. Say or do something new. Anyway, Kingpin and Matt decide to talk, and I thought it was a pretty decent scene overall. But one thing that stuck out to me was when Kingpin brought up Echo, which I would have preferred that they completely ignored that. Hell, I was completely just hoping that they just didn't mention anything related to the MCU that they've done with Fisk. And then Matt and Kingpin just kind of laugh about it, which could be the writers mocking Echo because of how ridiculous and stupid it is. I don't know. Probably not, though. The second episode I thought was an improvement over the first, although I'm not at all a fan of Kingpin coming back like this. His part of the story in this episode is okay, aside from the marriage counseling shit. Meanwhile, in this episode, they build up the White Tiger plot, where he accidentally kills a cop because he saw these 2 guys attacking a person and he decided to try to stop it. However, one of these guys gets hit by a train and it is revealed that these guys are cops. One thing I want to point out though is how terribly edited this little fight sequence is. It doesn't go on for long, but it's just really distracting how many cuts are in this one sequence. And Matt decides to be his lawyer and fight for him despite the cards being stacked against White Tiger. Matt finds the witness who is being attacked by the cops and gets to him just before some dirty cops get to him and kill him. And just as these dirty cops are about to kill Matt, he lets the devil out and takes these guys out. However, the editing in this fight scene is just as bad as the fight in the beginning of the episode. I'm watching Daredevil, not Taken 3. I don't really have a ton to say about episode 2, just most of my issues lie with episode 1. In conclusion, it's going to be very rough seeing what they're going to do with this once great show. Oh well, I can always pretend that it's not canon. Anyways, thanks for watching.